What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the eighth and final episode of the Meet the Coaches series. I am your host, John Morpheus Moore, and this time it's my pleasure to introduce a new face to the channel. We've got the coach of the Queen City Quagsires, Hampton Hambone Park. Hampton, how you doing, man?
Hello, hello. We're doing great. Happy to be here. Let's get it going.
Glad to have you. Welcome. Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I guess we'll just dive in quick and easy. The fans have been asking. We're all wondering, what was your first Pokemon experience? What got you into the franchise, and then ultimately into the competitive scene?
I believe that that dates back to college. I think when we lived together at UNC there, and that's when yeah, I got into Pokemon pretty late actually. I believe it was 2017, 2018 when I first got what was that? Sun and Moon, right? And
Sun and Moon.
yeah, that was the first one that I fully actually played. Yeah, I've always been a fan of it, but never really got into it. So until then, and since then, we've been playing the games, and we even yeah, we've even played a remaster here or there, and yeah, loving it. Pyukumuku really got me going. So
Pyukumuku was a Sun and Moon staple. And
yes,
yeah,
sir.
it's awesome getting to do this interview and having you in the league. We have a cool history. Hampton and I were roommates back freshman year in college. And so coming back from class and firing up the old 3DS and playing those games was a ton of fun. And I know that you mentioned about you being more of a late bloomer when it comes to Pokemon.
That's
And
true.
you mentioned a couple remakes, things like that. Have you played any of the older games like, Emerald, Gold and Silver, Red and Blue, anything like that?
We've fiddled around in the starter towns of a couple on some emulators here and there, but I think the only older one that I've actually gotten into was Ruby Ruby Crystal. What do you call it?
Ruby Crystal. We love it.
That one where they remade it, and there's the underground.
Oh, you're
So yeah.
talking about Shining Pearl.
Oh, that's the one.
That honestly, that is kind of a ruby crystal. It's a shining
You
pearl.
got
Um,
me,
I tell you what, man, Rock, he was a legend on that team. Uh,
bro.
yeah, that was good fun. I definitely recommend it. The old games are good, but obviously we're here for competitive Pokemon.
Here to
And
compete.
speaking of, even though you're the newest expansion team, this is actually your fourth season coming up in the Draft League. And interestingly enough, in every season so far, you have won the opening match. What do you think is the secret sauce behind this early success? Anything you do,
Mm.
leading into that first week that might the rest of the league
Loss.
could learn from?
I think, well, I don't know if the rest of the league wants to learn from my secret sauce because the sauce is comprised of we do all our tricks game one, and then yeah, we win that one. But the rest of the season, we're working on making it work and being a little surprising here or there. But yeah, maybe we'll save the secret sauce for later on. That's a good idea.
I tell you what,
Moving
man,
forward.
whatever it is that you do not want to face the QCQ week one. I know I have lost to that. So as pretty much everyone else in the league, besides one team, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You have never beaten the Charlotte Charizards. And that was also the team that it took me the longest to beat. I think it took me, maybe 2 seasons or so before I beat them for the first time. For those of you who
Well,
don't
that's
know, the
interesting.
coach of the Charlotte Charizards is Jacob. What do you think makes him such a difficult foe to go up against?
Um, is a great question because I think there's a lot to it. And I think what it boils down to is there's a lot of strong Mons that he usually drafts and picks up throughout the season. And he not only knows how to use them, but I think he comes into the games with a solid plan and has really, thought it out. Whereas I, on the other hand, we're playing what we like. But I think it should be interesting because I think we're opening up the season here, game one against the Charlotte Charizards. So we're
Ooh,
going to have that clashing statistic, and we're going to figure out how that one topples.
yeah.
Hopefully, we'll keep up the 4 streak of openers, but never know. They're a tough opponent, especially for me. So if that's not evident, so
Yeah, speaking of this upcoming season, we've got a pretty tough side of the bracket. Uh,
oh boy.
we've got me, the Chapel Hill Haluchas, you, obviously, CCZ, the Charlotte Charizards, and then West Texas Wingles, who we all know are a force within the draft league. How do you feel going into this next season?
I feel like I am stuck amongst champions with nothing to my name. I know for a fact I have not won anything major. However,
Yet.
yet. And you're a champion. We got West Texas as another champion, and when we finally beat the Charizards, that we might not consider him a champion, but until then, he's a champion in my eyes. So yeah, we're up against the toughest matchups we could get. So that's
Yeah.
great.
It will be an interesting season for sure. Going to be a lot of good battles.
A lot to learn.
I think we are all going to beat each other up throughout the season. Hopefully, we're still standing at the end. But
We'll
yeah,
see.
we breaking the fourth wall a little. We just had our draft for this upcoming season last night, and QCQ, you had the first overall pick. Do you mind talking us through the strategy that went into that? Kind of how you feel about this team? Any thoughts there?
Well, I was told, according to Pikalytics, that Fluttermane is up there as the meta pick of many players' choice competitively, and unfortunately, I was not able to make everyone happy. Regardless of my actions, it seemed there were some trade offers that were on the table that had to be declined because I don't know what I'm doing, and we're figuring that out along the way. And I can't guarantee that throwing away success now is going to prove anything for me later. So
That
here we
is
are. We're
sound
locked in.
sound reading to me. And hey, man, you gotta
Yes, sir.
trust your guns. The team that you have drafted, especially week one, we just talked about it, has typically been good. So I think if you trust your instincts, things generally work out pretty well for you.
Yep. Just got to save the tricks. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier about how you play your favorites. Do you have
True.
a favorite or two in particular that, in general, whether inside the draft league, outside, do you have a favorite that you've played with in the draft league? The world's dying to know.
Well, the favorite overall by far is Pyukumuku. He might not be the most damaging of foes, but there's an X factor that not many can see inside of it, and it really shines if you put it in the hands of someone like myself. However, unfortunately, we don't get to see him this season. But
It was too powerful. The game
well, yeah,
knew that we couldn't handle it.
okay. It'll be okay. But we've always got Quagsire just in case, free agency. He wasn't drafted, but that's on purpose because that's the way it unfolds.
Keeping it in the back pocket. Speaking of free agency, like I said, this is your upcoming fourth season. In the previous 3 seasons, you've made a total of 3 free agency moves, which is on the lower side for the league. Is there any reason behind that? Are you looking to get into the free agency market more this year, or do you like the team that you drafted with?
Well, I think I like to make the best of what I have. Sometimes, there's 3 times where we couldn't quite make the best out of what we've had. However, probably making more free agency decisions would be smart. But you know me, I like to make the most of what I've got, and if I had an idea on a draft night, it doesn't make it any less of an idea down the season.
This is true.
However, there would be undoubtedly more success with some more free agency. But I felt like not dominating too much and giving everyone else a fair chance. So
Well, I appreciate your sacrifice and looking out for all of us.
yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Do you have a general strategy behind your team that you drafted this year? How would you
What do
describe
you
kind
like?
of the group that you've put together? Obviously, you've got the Flutter main up top. He absolutely rips
Yeah.
through people.
Well, there's no hiding the strategy there. Yeah, that's number one pick, Flutter Main. So we had to pick
The main man.
few other people to support that. And whether I like it or not, that is the plan. And I think that is pretty obvious. So we're going to see how well we can do playing around Flutter Main. And uh, luckily, Flutter Main makes it pretty easy considering its overall stats and it moves that it gets access to. So pretty good mon, and I don't think we'll have to do much to make it work. But the general strategy will be on the cover at least to make that work. But you never know. We might have a sleeper that's not Flutter Main on the roster here.
You did draft the Sinistra. I believe that's its name, Sinistra. And we were doing some battles, and it looks like it brings a new kind of dynamic to the league. And with the new DLC,
Indeed.
do you have kind of a favorite from this new set? Anyone you're looking forward to playing with the most?
Well, by far the best names of them is the monkey dogi,
The monkey dogi.
monkey dory.
We love that.
So yeah, those are fun. I have not yet been able to get into playing with them and seeing what they're all about yet, but I love the prospects of them when they were introduced. And I think we looked at Sinistra middle of draft night, and it just happened to also be new, and me, and just trying new things, and you never know, it might have some hidden abilities to it that could prove useful for the old hyper carries up front.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a QCQ Pokemon to me. Another Pokemon that kind of feels like it is the Chansey that you picked up, which I believe is its first appearance in the Draft League. And for those of you out there that don't know, Hampton is quite the proficient Unite player and typically goes for the support healer role, Blissey being a common pick. Did that have any influence in that pickup? What attracts you to the healer role so much in general?
Well, no one else likes to do it. And because no one else likes to do it, there's not many people that do it well. So, as a man who is a master of all,
Who does everything well.
yes, does everything well, I feel like that is the role filled in the least competent way. So, if we have someone, like me to play healer support and do what no one else wants to do, and not get the numbers, but really put the team on the back in the hidden stat department. That's all me every time, because we might not be looking for big damage or big plays.
I've seen you throw up more than 20K with the comfy. I'm a believer in the bush boy. We love touching bush here.
That's the Comfey way.
That is the Comfey way. Look at us at the top 10K in Unite this season.
Yes, sir.
Hopefully we can translate some of that Unite success over to this Draft League.
Would be ideal.
And speaking of Draft League, this will be the second season now with terrestrialization. How do you feel about this new mechanic in the game? Obviously, terrestrialization lets you change a Pokemon's type to any other type. What are your thoughts on it, and how do you compare it to Dynamax, like we saw in the previous generation?
Well, it is extremely different from Dynamax. Dynamax was a whole boatload of newness, but feel like terrestrialization fits in pretty well with the Pokemon games and what they've done in the past with how they like to introduce new things. And I think it's a really cool idea. And yeah, it turns some unsuspecting non-threats into potential problems that could wall off a whole team if unchecked. And I think it introduces some cool aspects that can be played into and played around. So I think, yeah, I don't mind it as a game mechanic. I definitely like it more than Dynamax because that was, it's a lot easier to deal with someone who terastallizes instead of goes big. So, and I say that now, might struggle the whole season with terastallized opponents. However, yeah, at least they're not big, so we've got that going and might be able to do something there. But yeah, I think it does something really cool with turning really strong mons into even stronger mons and pretty average ones into unsuspecting sweepers. So
Yeah,
pretty interesting.
it definitely changes things up. And you heard it here first. Bigger is not better when
That's
it comes
true.
to Pokemon. It's interesting because I was kind of on the other side of the fence. Apparently, I used terrestrialization the least in the draft league. You definitely did a better job than I did with this new mechanic. How do you typically like to use it? Do you like it more as like an offensive pivot where now I can hit for more damage on this niche kind of move type, or more defensively where maybe I have a quad weakness and now I can turn that into resistance?
Well, without giving away personal strategies here, I feel like
I'm trying. I'm
speaking
trying to get it
for
out of you.
speaking for just a Pokemon player in general, if you terastallize as you're a type that you already are, you get a pretty big stab bonus, which usually, that Pokemon gets access to their stab moves. So you gotta love terastallizing and not changing it up and sticking to what it is and just hitting hard. That's I feel like a pretty consistent way of getting it done. But then you got the sneaky ones where you get like a water type colossal or something crazy, and not that that's crazy or good, but it
Yeah,
definitely
get that
mixes things
steam
up.
engine going with the
And
resistance.
yeah, and it can yeah, that those are the ones that you got to look out for, because you can account for stab damage, terastallization damage, just 1.5 at whatever. But as soon as the little weirdos start getting weird types, that's when everything's thrown out the window. So
Well, it'll be a fun season for sure. I'm excited to see what you do with your team. You've definitely got the players to rascalize in that way and hit stab super hard. So I
yes,
know
sir.
I'm scared of that. Well, thank you for your time. We're wrapping up here, getting close on 20 minutes. But I always want to end with the fan favorite question. What is your favorite draft league memory? You've had a lot of iconic teams, iconic Pokemon. You've had the Pyukumuku, you've had the Quagsire. Does any battle or moment in particular stand out to you?
Well, we haven't exactly got the ultimate dub yet, so it'd be unfair to say that any moment of playoffs where I was so close was the moment for me that I was having the most fun, because even though like yeah, it's the best, like closest you get to feeling great and feeling like an actual champion, uh we haven't quite got there yet. So I think some of the most fun and memorable times I've spent here at the Draft League is probably during the off season cups, with
Awesome.
the wacky formats, and just mixing it up and trying something new. I think I really enjoyed the format we had, where we had two trainers, I think, to one team. It might have happened. It might not
Oh
have happened,
yeah,
but
I do
I
remember
liked that.
that. That was a ton of fun. Um,
Mhm.
Yeah, you always bring some dynamic teams. You had both Quagsires in this most recent offseason cup. It's always fun seeing what you come up with that. That's awesome. All right. Well, Hampton, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you. All the
Everyone out
questions.
there, thank you. Absolutely. Please watch us for the rest of the games this season, and look forward to bringing you some exciting Pokemon action coming here soon. See ya.